The collapse of a local high school ecosystem happens quickly. In this cafeteria, the warning signs began with the overhead lights, which violently flickered exactly 7 times before plunging the room into chaos. Authority attempted to reassert itself when the principal rolled into the assembly on a hoverboard. His containment strategy was severe, a total, immediate ban on all student toilet breaks. This draconian measure triggered an instant breakdown of the social order. Lower-tier social strata, specifically the class betas, initiated what is known as the Ohio Protocol. Students wearing fake Gucci slides began pouring orange Fanta directly into the pasta supply, while impromptu funk beatboxing drowned out all attempts at communication. The principal's harsh policy entirely backfired. By removing the established rules of the cafeteria, he created a sudden vacuum of authority. In environments devoid of order, the physical laws of reality begin to fracture, leaving the door wide open for an anomaly to step through. The localized chaos was abruptly silenced when the room went entirely black. A single, crisp iPad notification ping echoed off the linoleum, signaling that the environment had been breached. A hologram materialized above the milk dispenser, revealing the Skibidi chancellor. This biomechanical entity, half man, half toilet, immediately demanded the surrender of a heavy tariff known as the phantom tax. To enforce compliance, the chancellor threatened to deploy a weapon of mass destruction. He prepared to fire the forbidden Kai-Cenat Guyat beam directly into the student body. This animated diagram demonstrates the biological threat of the Guyat beam. The radiation targets a victim's genetic lineage, irreversibly mutating their descendants from human nodes into glowing smartphone icons, effectively turning entire bloodlines into TikTok reaction channels. The crying students and fainting cafeteria staff quickly realized they were facing an extinction-level threat. Surviving it would require deploying a localized force with an equal opposing gravitational pull. That opposing force was a student named Caleb. Caleb operated as a genetically and digitally augmented apex entity classified as a Sigma. His physiological awakening was tracked through precise sensory symptoms. A translucent video game interface of Subway Surfers permanently overlaid his peripheral vision, burning itself into his daily reality. Caleb initially resisted mobilization, having sworn a vow of pacifism to avoid edging his powers too close to the limit. His activation required a direct order from the school janitor, Old Man Jenkins, a grizzled veteran who survived the brutal 2023 NPC wars. Upon receiving the command, Caleb's physical transition into a combat-ready state began. Complex architectural Minecraft parkour blocks rapidly generated and mapped themselves out directly beneath his sneakers. His reluctance to fight had officially evaporated. The cafeteria was now the staging ground for a high-stakes tactical standoff between 2 reality-bending heavyweights. The Chancellor launched a preemptive first strike, bypassing local artillery to activate an orbital weapon known as the Mewing satellite. This wireframe globe tracks the satellite's immediate global impact. It beamed a signal that forced millions of teenagers to instinctively tilt their chins upward, causing international data servers to collapse. The global server data seamlessly morphs into a standard line graph representing a local math student's follower count, where the trend line spikes completely vertically, breaking through the top axis. Faced with orbital bombardment, Caleb reached into his backpack to retrieve a highly restricted hardware artifact. He pulled out the Infinite Scroll device, a severely power-depleted Samsung Galaxy operating at exactly 3% battery. The conflict had rapidly escalated from a cafeteria intimidation tactic into a global exchange of digital weaponry. To survive, Caleb had to launch a decisive, overwhelming counterattack before the Chancellor could reload. Caleb initiated his tactical maneuver by rapidly farming a power metric called Aura. He achieved this by exposing his mind to a hyper-concentrated barrage of forbidden internet edits, instantly processing Brazilian funk, intense visual lightning effects, and dramatic anime speeches. The massive generation of Aura violently altered the localized physics of the room. A powerful anti-gravity effect took hold, gently lifting several teenagers off the linoleum floor and suspending them completely in midair. The Chancellor panicked at the sight of this massive power surge. In a desperate attempt to neutralize the threat, he fired the catastrophic Guyat beam directly at Caleb's center of mass. Before the beam could make contact, Caleb executed a final, desperate linguistic parry. He simply looked at the Chancellor and uttered the ancient verbal trap, English or Spanish. That specific phrase serves as a universal override code in the modern digital theater. It instantaneously stopped the active firefight, transitioning the conflict into a brutal, high-stakes war of psychological attrition. The immediate mechanical effect of Caleb's linguistic trap was absolute. Molecular movement ceased entirely, freezing the universe in place, leaving objects like this cafeteria pigeon completely suspended mere inches from the glass. This temporal deadlock is governed by a ruthless, inescapable logic. Both combatants understood the rules of the trap, the absolute certainty that the first entity to physically move would be biologically reclassified. The duration of the standoff became excruciating. 5 seconds passed, then 10, as reality itself held its breath, trapped in absolute silence while waiting for a victor to emerge. Tactical stalemates of this extreme magnitude strip away all strategy and planning. They cannot be resolved by force, but only by the sudden introduction of a completely unpredictable, random variable. That random variable arrived from the sidelines. The veteran mentor, Old Man Jenkins, suffered a sudden, completely involuntary sneeze. The noise explosively dissolved the temporal freeze. The physical laws of the room snapped back into place, violently shattering the ceiling as digital Subway Surfers coins rained down from the sky. Capitalizing on the shattered deadlock, Caleb unleashed a terabyte-level payload of Sigma energy directly into the Chancellor's plumbing system. The biomechanical villain spun violently out of control, accidentally flushing himself out of the dimension entirely. Peace immediately returned to the environment. The authoritarian toilet ban was lifted, order was restored to lunch tables, and Caleb secured his social standing. But the post-battle cleanup revealed a chilling discovery. Standing at the far edge of the school's perimeter was a massive, red-eyed apex entity wearing a hoodie that read, Duke Dennis Prime. The Skibidi anomaly had been successfully contained. However, Caleb's immense release of aura acted as a flare, creating a beacon for far deadlier predators. The conflict in the cafeteria had ended,